The Minnesota Twins franchise has been in existence since 1901 when they began play as the Washington Senators. After 60 years as the Senators, they moved west to Minneapolis and rebranded as the Twins ahead of the 1961 season. I mentioned that to show you that this franchise has been around for quite a while. In the over 120 years history of the Minnesota Twins / Washington Senators franchise, there are 4 pitchers that threw at least 2,000 innings for the team and recorded an adjusted ERA of at least 110. 120 plus years and 4 pitchers fit those 2 criteria. Of those 4 pitchers, 3 are in the Hall of Fame: Walter Johnson, Jim Cott, and Burt Blyleven. That 4th pitcher that fit the criteria is Brad Radke. Brad Radke might not only be the most underrated pitcher in Twin Senators history, he's perhaps the most underrated pitcher of his era as well. And I bet almost nobody outside of Minnesota has ever heard of him. Who exactly is Brad Radke, what made him special, and why did he fly so far under the radar? Radke pitched in the major leagues for 12 seasons from 1995 to 2006, all with the Minnesota Twins. A starting pitcher, he compiled a career 148 and 139 record, 4.22 ERA, 113 adjusted ERA, 2,451 innings pitched, a 1.260 whip, nearly 1,500 strikeouts, and 45.3 WAR. He's a one-time All-Star and placed 3rd in Cy Young voting in 1997, a season in which he won 20 games and led the league in games started. To show just how good Radke was during his time in the big leagues, let's compare him to other pitchers during his career. Among all pitchers in baseball from 1995 to 2006, Radke ranks 12th in wins, 4th in starts, 5th in innings, 9th in WAR, 8th in complete games, and 8th in shutouts. Among all pitchers with at least 1,500 innings pitched during that time frame, Radke ranks 32nd in ERA, 16th in adjusted ERA, and 11th in WHIP. What about compared to pitchers all time? Among all pitchers in baseball history to throw as many or fewer innings as Radke, he ranks 11th all-time in WAR. If we look at pitchers since integration, he ranks 7th all-time. If we raise the maximum threshold to 3,000 innings, Radke still ranks inside the top 40 all-time and top 25 since integration. Let's take another stat to compare Radke to: adjusted ERA. In MLB history, there have been 269 pitchers to throw as many or more innings as Radke. Radke ranks 121st in adjusted ERA. While that placement may seem a little unassuming at first glance, that ranking is in the top 55th percentile. He's better than the average pitcher in this list. This list may be a bit clunky because of the prevalence of pitchers to throw well over 3,000 and even 4,000 innings. So what about comparing him to pitchers in a fixed innings limit? Let's look at all starting pitchers to throw anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 innings in their career. There have been 272 starters that fit that criteria, and Radke ranks 78th all-time, which is in the 71st percentile of this group. What does all this information mean though? It means Radke was arguably a top 15 to 20 starter during his time in Major League Baseball, and compared to other pitchers all time, he was well above average in one way or another. However, if he was so good, why did he fly so far under the radar? I'll get to that, but first I need to go more into his career. If I can sum up Radke's career in 3 words, they would be consistent, sturdy, and unassuming. Radke's consistency is demonstrated by his year-to-year ERA. He was always a high 3s to mid-4s ERA type of guy. In fact, out of the 12 seasons in his career, Radke recorded an ERA between 3.75 to 4.50 in 9 of those seasons. Same situation with his adjusted ERA. 9 of his 12 seasons, he posted an adjusted ERA between 100 and 135. Many of his other stats were also super consistent on a year-to-year basis as well. You knew what you were getting with Radke. He wasn't a flashy starter and wouldn't ever be one of the best in the league, but he would give you results year in and year out. His sturdiness was also a pattern throughout his career. In his 12 seasons as a Twin, Radke had just 1 year in which he started fewer than 28 games and pitched fewer than 162 innings. 1 unqualified season over 12 years. For those unaware, a qualified season by a starting pitcher is a season in which a pitcher throws at least 162 innings. To put that in perspective, there are only 3 active pitchers to have as many qualified seasons as Brad Radke: Zach Greinke, Justin Verlander, and Max Scherzer. 3 future Hall of Famers, I might add. Over Radke's career, he averaged over 200 innings and over 31 starts made per season. As mentioned earlier, his 2,451 innings pitched from 1995 to 2006 are the 5th most of any pitcher during that time frame, and his 377 starts rank 4th most. His massive usage is also an indicator that he was a useful piece on the Twins for a long time. If he wasn't valuable, he wouldn't have pitched so much. Lastly, while Radke may have had wonderful traits during his career, he was also unassuming and frankly had a boring career. His 4.22 ERA and 113 adjusted ERA show he was a good pitcher, but not a great pitcher. He never posted an ERA below 3 in a single season and was never considered ace material. Radke never led the league in any eye-popping stats either. In fact, he led the American League in losses once and home runs allowed twice. He didn't strike out many batters or ever have a memorable moment like a no-hitter. Arguably, his most famous moment in the big leagues is being the pitcher who ended the Oakland Athletics' famous 20-game win streak in 2002, which to be fair, is quite the achievement in itself. Not to also mention, he spent the entire career on a small market team that wasn't good for a while. The Twins were consistently in the bottom third of payroll, including being dead last a couple seasons during Radke's peak. It wasn't until his 30s that Radke and the Twins finally made the playoffs, and by that time, he was nowhere near the best pitcher on his team. It was a meek career, but a quality one. Radke reminds me a lot of Mark Burley, someone who might not have been a number 1 starter at any point in his career, but was almost never hurt and went out every 5 days to pitch. If you needed someone on the mound, Radke was your guy. Is Brad Radke a Hall of Famer? Not in any way. He falls short of a great peak, and his ERA, adjusted ERA, and WAR are nowhere near elite level. His 12-season career is also short for Hall of Fame consideration, as his 2,451 innings pitched would be the 4th fewest innings pitched for a starter in the Hall of Fame. He may not be Hall of Fame worthy, but that doesn't dismiss the amazing career he had. Brad Radke may not have been memorable to most, but he's still perhaps one of the most underrated pitchers of all time.